basically the easiest thing to think about when you think about cutting glass is the fact that what you're doing really is you're disturbing the surface. Like you have a piece of glass, right? A sheet of glass, right? Okay? And what you're doing really when you score across that surface is, take a look at this bit here, you're basically just disturbing the surface. And glass has no sort of crystalline structure, no lattice like metals and most other solids and cubides. And so if you were not to score a piece of glass, if you were to just do like that, there's no telling where it's going to break, right? But what you're doing when you score the glass is you're creating the weakest link in the chain so that it breaks there. That's what you're doing in actual fact. So a lot of people tend to think that you want to really grunch the hell out of it. Well, the fact is, if you grunch it too much, it's just as bad as not grunching it enough, okay? We're inventing a lot of it. I don't care, you know, just so it works. Now I've seen some old timers in the glazing trade. You know, let's see. Oh yes, this tends to be and they, you know, and a lot depends upon the size of your hand, how strong you are. Some people with very small hands, that I knew an older person that had a bit of arthritis, they just couldn't, you know, do all this business. So I actually cut a cutter off and put a little rubber cap on the end of it, and they held it in their hand like this, and they had their weight on top of it. If you do it this way, probably better. I prefer to almost hold it like this, and see how I can turn it like that, so that I can go around curves, just like driving a car. And whether you like to cut towards you or away from you, that is also a matter of personal preference. It is a fact, if you're doing a dicey little shape, you can see where you're going if you're going away from you. Because the wheel, of course, is on your cutter, which is shaped you know, and then on up to the handle is the cutting wheel. You know, if you're looking down here, you can see where the wheel's going easier than on this side. See what I mean? Like that. So, but once again, when you're into fusing, the whole matter of cutting precision is maybe not quite as critical as with stained glass. And so, what I'll do is I'll just start with a real basic thing, like it's got to be thick enough. I'm not drawing the actual size. Here's your piece of glass that you're scoring on. Your ruler has got to be thick enough. See, this is solid metal down to here. There's the axle for the little wheel. Is there anybody that doesn't understand what I'm talking about, a little wheel? You know what a glass cutter is. It has a little wheel. Looking at that from the front, the wheel is shaped like that. That's sharp. There's the glass. Here's the axle going through it. Right? And the wheel turns around to go round. So it's got to be, the ruler's got to be thick enough so that it comes up to this, well past this metal stuff. Otherwise, your wheel rides up on the ruler. Now, we could just do that. We could just, there are a number of ways you can cut strips of glass off. Let's see, let's do this one here. And you can, if you've got enough mass both sides, my score line is dead over this part of the ruler. Okay, cut it that way. But you're not going to play that game. See, like I was more or less, well, obviously you're not going to play that game if this is 30% of the sheet and you're dropping 60%. And so somewhere, well, I could maybe play that game out. Let's say that we want to cut that in half. I've already scored it. But get into the tools here. Well, he had some braking pliers. Here's another type of braking plier. And what's happening, just so you can see him at work here, see him, upside down. See that? What's actually happening there is you got a piece of glass line going down there. Okay, I put my pliers, whoops, here and here. Right? That's what happens. The ends of the pliers are actually shaped like this. And the glass is through here, so that this is exerting effort on the brake, and this is exerting on the sides. So when you squeeze them together, and it's quite good if it's a thin little strip that you just can't get a hold of, and that sort of thing. It's also really good if you want it, if you're in, usually the power of 2 is a good thing to remember. If you want to, I mean, more or less. You'll see what I mean in a minute. I'm not cutting these particularly thin, because we're just racing through here. Anyway. Okay. Don't start breaking them off here. Done. Your chances of screwing up are really bad. You give yourself the greatest chance when you got equal mass, both sides. So take it down the middle somewhere, okay? So there's that one. Okay? Now I can take this one down the middle more or less. Okay? Now I can take this one. And then when you get down to the little one, see, it's a lot easier if you got them. There's nothing to it. And say take that one in the middle, that one in the middle, and that one in the middle. You can do it the other way, but my experience is that you have a lot less errors this way. This is the sort of glass you can do no wrong with. I mean, this is sort of cheap, nasty. You know, it's machine rolled, it's equal thickness, it's very flat. It's kind of, you run across the glass, nothing happens, go a little bit harder, a little bit harder, a little bit harder. That's better than starting heavy and trying to lighten up. So if you just want to barely hear it, you don't want to, don't do it. It just destroys your cutter and it doesn't score the glasses nicely. You know, you don't have to muscle beat it. Just a niceness. And the other thing is, if you want to start getting something that's really going all over the show, if you've got an even pressure score line, it's going to be a lot happier. Is it really putting forth into my groove near the beginning and then start out? And then, when you get to the end, put your finger there and blunt yourself off slowly. Because going off real hard tends to nick the wheel a bit. Mind you, if we're not using oil in the cutters, you're going to wipe them out anyway. But they still last an awful long time. I mean, this one's 6 years I've been using the same cutter.
What difference does the oil make it sort of go differently across the surface of the glass?
Well, you have got a moving part. You've got a wheel and an axle. So obviously the oil makes that a lot happier.